Welcome to Heaven Awaits. My name is Leigh, and I narrate the near-death experiences of those who have died and have seen the other side. If you enjoy these videos, please consider hitting the thumbs up, subscribe, and bell icons to be notified of new content. Doing so is free, and it does help the channel grow. Get comfortable, grab a cup of coffee or tea, and let's dive into today's experiences. The panic of being suffocated was too much, so I exploded into darkness. I was calm as I left my body. Then I was put into a circular and dark, deep life review while in a fast-moving tunnel. I left my body going to the real south in the direction. Yet, I could only look to the east in the tunnel. I knew this was important, and so I only looked east. It was circular and dark, except for the left side wall that was east. I went through the tunnel facing sideways. At first, flashes of my whole life happened very fast, like warp speed. I couldn't see or process anything, but distinctly knew this was my life review. I saw a flash, another flash, and a flash of images without words. I felt calm. Then the flashes slowed down to where I saw all my close family, friends, and those I love. I was surrounded by love. I didn't know any one of those who had passed away. I saw no relatives or spirit guides, but I think they could have been there. Then I was launched at warp speed out of the dark tunnel. I fell out of the tunnel, hundreds of feet in the sky. I was a flying spirit or soul, without a body. I felt pure bliss. I was in nature and flying up the valley. The mountains and nature were so beautiful. I saw colors and felt love on a much bigger scale than what we can on Earth. While flying, I looked down and saw a small female child who was running down the mountain, away from me. In a split second, I knew she was my child. She was from the future, and I needed to go back to my body. There was no question about my decision. Suddenly, my soul flew backward out of where she was in the beautiful mountains. I was launched through the tunnel at warp speed in the darkness. Finally, without feeling anything, I came back into my body. I got up, fought him off me a few more times, and ran for my life. I never went back. I have no fear of death in the spirit world. The little girl in my experience became my child 8 years in the future. I believe in reincarnation and other associated elements. I am writing this at age 47 and my experience occurred at age 25. That does it for our first experience. This next experience is another after-death communication. Let's get into it. 32 years ago, my daughter Dana had been away at college for close to 3 months, and we were expecting her to come home for Thanksgiving break. She called excited to let us know that she had passed her midterm and that she was ecstatic to see us. The day that we expected her home, I was working in my office, which is located about 20 minutes from my home. It was fast approaching the end of the day, 3:45 p.m., and I was ready to go home. I looked up from my desk to see Dana standing there smiling at me. I remember saying to her, "Hey baby girl, we weren't expecting you so soon. Give me 15 minutes and I'll be ready to go." She just waved at me and turned and walked away. 15 minutes later, I finished my work and walked into the main area of my office building and noticed that Dana wasn't there in the waiting area. So, I figured that she had gone home. I gathered all of my stuff and called my wife from my desk phone to let her know that I was headed home. I left my office to make the 20-minute drive home, and around the halfway mark I got an uneasy feeling. I shrugged it off, thinking that it was the coffee that I had drunk not agreeing with me. I pulled into our driveway but did not see my daughter's car anywhere. Strange, I thought to myself. Maybe she went to the store. I'll ask my wife when I walk in. When I walked into the house, I found my wife sitting at the kitchen table, peeling potatoes, still getting food ready for dinner. "Hey hun, where's Dana?" I saw her at my office, but she left before I could come home with her. My wife looked at me like I was crazy and said that Dana wasn't here yet. She just called about an hour ago to tell me she was driving and that she would be home in a few hours. I asked her if she was sure, because I just saw her at my office less than an hour ago. "David, I'm sure. Unless she can drive faster than the speed of sound, she is not here." About the time that she finished, we heard a knock at the door. My wife got up from the table and went to the door. I remember hearing her gasp and say, "Oh no, that can't be," and then she screamed my name. When I reached the door, I saw 2 officers standing there with their hats in their hands. "What is this about? Is something wrong, officers?" I asked. "Are you Mr. Such and Such?" one of the officers asked. "Yes," I said hesitantly. I was expecting them to tell me that my office had been broken into. Crime had begun to get terrible, and other buildings in the area had been hit, so I figured it was mine this time around. "Mr. Such and Such," I heard the officer say, "I have some bad news for you. Your daughter has been in an accident, sir." I interrupted him, asking where she was, what hospital she was at, and every question I could think of. The officer kindly interrupted me. "Mr. Such and Such, your daughter didn't make it. She was killed on impact. I'm sorry." "Wait, what the hell do you mean she didn't make it? I just saw her less than an hour ago at my office." She smiled and waved at me. The two officers looked at each other, and then back to me. "Mr. Such and Such, that's not possible. Your daughter's auto accident happened 200 miles away at 3:40 p.m. Everything else was a blur." I couldn't accept what these officers were telling me. I closed the door and walked over to the couch where my wife was quietly sobbing. I couldn't explain any of it to my wife. All I could do was say it's not possible. She was at my office. She waved to me. She was there. The psychotic break that I experienced hurt my marriage, and my wife and I were forced to handle our grief on our own and in our own way. It didn't hit me until 2 weeks later, when we were burying our baby, that I realized my baby girl was gone and that she was never coming back. It took me months before I finally began to let myself heal. During this time, my wife and I worked on our grief together, and we avoided the stereotypical divorce that is common when two parents lose a child. I don't know why God took my baby. I wish that I knew. My heart hurts writing this. I still feel Dana's presence, as if to tell me she is going to be okay and that she is watching over us. My wife, for the longest time, used to crack jokes and say that I was going crazy every time I brought up our daughter. Then one night, while she was cooking, I heard a plate drop. When I rushed into the kitchen, I saw my wife on the floor, crouching and crying. When I asked her what was wrong, she said that she felt like someone was hugging her and thought it was me at first. But then she smelled the perfume that Dana loved to wear. I don't know if my wife was feeling particularly down that day, but I do know that my baby girl is still here with us. Every year on the date of her death, her presence feels stronger. My wife and I are in our 70s now, and we know that eventually we will see her again. That does it for today's experiences. As always, let me know what you thought in the comment section below. Until next time, stay safe and continue to be blessed.